When I was 10, my mother remarried, and I moved in with the Millers. My stepsister, Sarah Miller, always called me a parasite and even pushed me down the stairs once. She watched coldly as I lay in a pool of my own blood and said, "Don't think you can become a Miller just by following that homewrecker mother of yours. I'll kick you out of here sooner or later." She tore up my homework and drew turtles on the back of my shirts to deliberately humiliate me. No matter how obedient I was, her cruelty never ceased. That is until her best friend, Emily Carter, confessed her feelings for me in college. After that, for the first time ever, Sarah stopped bullying me. I saw Emily as my salvation, and on my birthday, we slept together. The very next day, however, I accidentally overheard her talking with Sarah. Sarah's voice was dripping with malice. "Did you get pictures of him?" Emily's tone was teasing. "Of course. If it wasn't to get back at him for you, I'd never touch a disgusting guy from a family of homewreckers." I clapped a hand over my mouth as tears streamed down my face. So what I thought was my salvation was just another one of Sarah's schemes for revenge. What she didn't know was that I had already submitted my application to study abroad. I was never coming back. Inside the private room at the club, Sarah took a drag from her cigarette. "Once his reputation is ruined, let's see how he can keep shamelessly living in our house," she said. "But what if he can't handle it and something happens to him?" Sarah shot her a look and sneered. "So worried about him. Don't tell me you've actually fallen for him." Emily quickly denied it. "No way. I was just messing with him. Ryan is coming back soon. Why would I waste my time on him?" I stood outside the door, my heart sinking into an icy pit. Ryan Hayes was their childhood friend, and he was also Emily's first love. I had always known that Sarah hated me. She blamed my mother's arrival for her own mother's suicide, and she directed all of that hatred toward me. After I started dating Emily, Sarah still gave me the cold shoulder, but she stopped actively tormenting me. I thought she was finally starting to accept me. I thought I was finally going to have a real sister, and I was filled with hope that we could have a normal relationship. I never imagined this was just a crueler form of revenge. She and Emily were already inseparable best friends, practically the same person, and I had foolishly imagined that Emily actually liked me. In the end, I had just been fooling myself. Swallowing the lump in my throat, I ran out of the building as if my life depended on it. A heavy rain was falling outside. I was soaked to the bone. The moment I got home, I sent an iMessage to my professor. "Professor Albright, I'll accept your offer to join the research project abroad." He had been my advisor for an international competition and was a leading expert in the field of AI. I had once worked myself to the bone to excel, all for the sake of winning my family's approval. But no one had ever cared. Not my mother, and not Sarah. I had initially turned down the offer because the project was classified, meaning I couldn't leave the research institute for 3 years. But that didn't matter anymore. I must have caught a chill from the rain, because I curled up in bed, shivering. I woke up from a nightmare to find I was burning with a high fever. As I tried to get up to find some medicine, my bedroom door was suddenly thrown open. Before I could say a word, my mother, seething with rage, threw a stack of photos in my face. "Daniel Kane, how old are you to be messing around like this? Have you no shame?" They were the photos Emily had secretly taken while I was trying to please her. I stared blankly, a profound sense of desolation washing over me. In a single night, they had eagerly spread the photos everywhere. It was only 2 days ago that Emily had promised me, with such conviction, "I'll take care of you. We'll get married after graduation." She had plied me with so much alcohol, and I finally gave in to her persistent pleading. I debased myself for her, doing anything just to make her happy. And I was naive enough to believe she truly loved me. Seeing my silence, my mother pressed me relentlessly. "Say something. Who took these? If people see these pictures, your stepfather and I will never be able to show our faces in public again." She was never worried about me, only about herself. But when I told her it was Emily Carter, my mother went quiet. Then she blamed me. "How could you get involved with a girl from the Carter family? People like them. We can't afford to cross them. Besides, you two were dating. Even if you had proof, what could you do? It was your own fault for not saying no." I snapped my head up to look at her, my eyes wide with disbelief. She avoided my gaze. "The photos have been taken down. In time, everyone will forget this ever happened. The Carters were powerful, not a family the Millers could afford to offend." As the door closed, I saw Sarah standing at the top of the stairs, a taunting smile on her face. It was as if she knew this would be the outcome all along. The truth didn't matter anymore. A deep, profound sense of helplessness washed over me, drowning me in an instant. I covered my face with my hands and sank to the floor. My phone began to blow up with a constant stream of harassing messages. The disgusting things they said made me want to vomit. With trembling hands, I blocked every number. My mother told me she'd arranged a long-term leave of absence from the university for me, so I wouldn't have to go back. But I didn't want her to know about my plans to leave the country, so I went back to campus myself to finalize the paperwork. She never had time for me anyway. I doubted she would even notice I was gone. And even though the photos had been deleted, it seemed like everyone I knew had already seen them. Their gazes were a mixture of judgment and mockery, always followed by hushed whispers. I never would have guessed. He always seemed so straight-laced, but secretly he's that disgusting. I wonder how many girls he's been with. Who knows? Don't get too close, you might catch something. An overwhelming wave of shame and fear consumed me. My chest tightened, and I don't even remember how I managed to leave campus. I was walking down the street in a daze when a group of men blocked my path. The one in front held up a phone displaying my private photos, his leering eyes raking over my body. "This is you, right? Looks like you know a lot of tricks. So you're into some wild stuff. How much for a night? Why don't you have some fun with us? I want to see what it's like to be with Emily Carter's boyfriend." I froze, taking a half step back. "What do you want?" The men exchanged vulgar smirks and, ignoring my struggles, dragged me into a dark alley. They pinned me down, their faces twisted in menacing grins. "Get off me. Don't touch me." But they held my arms and legs down. I had no strength left to fight back. All I could do was watch in horror as their filthy hands reached for me. I heard the sound of fabric ripping. "Stop struggling. No one's coming to save you," one of them hissed. "If you make this enjoyable for us, maybe we'll go a little easier on you." I bit down on my lip so hard I could taste blood. In the moment it took for them to start unbuckling their pants, I quickly pulled the utility knife from my bag. My hand was shaking as I held it out. "Stay away from me. The first time I was assaulted, I was just a kid." My mother hadn't asked if I was hurt. Instead, she asked if I had done something to invite it. "Why does this only happen to you and not to anyone else?" But I had just been walking home from school like any other day. If Sarah hadn't shown up when she did, I don't know what would have happened. Ever since that day, I've always carried a small knife with me. My fear was reaching a breaking point, but they just laughed, unafraid, and one of them even tried to grab the knife from my hand. In the ensuing struggle, the blade plunged into my own chest. The leader of the group finally started to panic. Fearing they'd have a dead body on their hands, they let me go. I collapsed to the pavement, blood soaking through my shirt. My vision swam with black spots, but I could still hear one of them making a call in a hushed voice. "Miss Miller, there's a problem. He stabbed himself." Then I heard Sarah's voice on the other end of the line. "Is he dead?" she asked. Then Emily's voice cut in. "Sarah, you're a real piece of work. You actually hired people to jump him." Sarah just scoffed. "I just paid them to scare him a little. If he wanted to die, that's on him. If he's not dead, just drop him in a hospital. Make sure he doesn't find out who was behind this." My heart felt like it was being crushed in a vice, the pain so intense I could barely breathe. So this was how much she hated me. She hated me enough to destroy me like this. In my haze, I suddenly remembered something I'd overheard her say a long time ago. "I know his mom isn't really why my mom died. I just don't want him to have a moment of peace. My dad feels guilty about them, but I don't." A tear escaped the corner of my eye, and then I blacked out completely. The next time I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. Emily Carter was sitting by my side. The moment she saw my eyes open, she leaned in, her face etched with concern. "Daniel, you're finally awake. I was so worried about you." When I didn't respond, her eyes darted nervously. "I saw the photos. I'm so sorry. I was out drinking and got wasted, and someone must have grabbed my phone by mistake and sent them. But don't worry, I had them all taken down. Please don't dwell on it. I don't care about any of that." I just stared at her, my heart a silent, empty void. She was the one behind it all, yet here she was acting like my savior. If she hadn't pursued me so relentlessly when I was at my lowest point, we never would have gotten together in the first place. But before I could say anything, her phone rang. I couldn't hear what the person on the other end said. She murmured a gentle reply, then walked out of the room, phone to her ear, without a single glance back. The moment Emily left, Sarah walked in. She looked at my pathetic state with open disgust. "Do you know where she rushed off to? Ryan's back in the country and has jet lag, so he can't sleep. She went to tuck him in. She won't be looking out for you anymore. So I'd advise you to give up on any fantasies you might have." Her words made my heart clench. No one knew better than I did how important Ryan was to them. They had known each other since they were born. Sarah's mother used to say that Ryan looked like her, so Sarah had always doted on him, giving him whatever he wanted. I treasured having Sarah as a sister and was always trying to find ways to be good to her. But nothing I ever did could ever compete with a single word from Ryan. I closed my eyes, a bitter, self-mocking smile touching my lips. It was only now that I could finally see the truth. Whether it was Sarah or Emily, there was never any room for me in their hearts. In the past, I would have immediately apologized to try and please her. But this time, I just turned my head away indifferently. I understand. It won't happen again. Sarah stared at me for a second, taken aback. Emily isn't here. Who are you putting on this pathetic, sickening act for? With that, she stormed out of the room. My injuries were severe, so I was in the hospital for a full week. When my mother found out, she just wired me money for the bill and left on a business trip with Mr. Miller. She never came to visit. I was completely alone, right up to the day I was discharged. I took the opportunity, while no one was home, to start packing my things. There wasn't much to take. Most of the items I had once treasured were just things Sarah had deigned to give me. They weren't necessary anymore. The only thing I had to take was the bracelet my grandmother had left me. My grandmother had raised me. I only went to live with my mother after she passed away. Before she died, she had put the bracelet on my wrist herself, wishing me a life of peace and safety. But when I opened its case, I found it was gone. I searched my entire room, but couldn't find it anywhere. It was only after checking the security camera footage that I saw Sarah had taken it. She wasn't answering my calls. I finally tracked her down to a private room at a karaoke bar, where she and Emily were celebrating Ryan's birthday. Someone started teasing them. "Hey, Emily, since you broke up with that nerdy boyfriend of yours, how about you give him to me? A guy that uninhibited must know a lot of tricks." Emily shot the speaker a look, but didn't say anything. It was Sarah who slammed her glass down on the table, her voice icy. "Why are you bringing him up on a happy occasion like this? Don't ruin the mood." I clenched my fists tightly. The moment I pushed the door open, the room went silent. My eyes met Sarah's cold, indifferent gaze, and I got straight to the point. "Give me back my bracelet." Before she could answer, Ryan held up his arm, stroking the bracelet on his wrist. "You don't mean this, do you?" But it was a gift from Sarah. I recognized it instantly. It was the one from my grandmother. "That charm on it is mine. It's very important to me. Please give it back." Sarah let out a cold, venomous laugh. "So what if it's yours? You live in my house. Everything you have is mine to take whenever I want." Even though I thought I was past feeling anything, a dull ache spread through my chest. I gritted my teeth. "You can take anything else, but not that." It was my grandmother's. Just then, Emily cut me off. "It's just a bracelet, isn't it? I'll buy you a new one some other time. Ryan likes this one. Just think of it as your birthday present to him." With just a few dismissive words, she had decided its fate. Hearing this, a flicker of triumph crossed Ryan's face. "That's right, I'm quite fond of this charm," he said. "Just name your price. I'll pay you whatever you want for it." But to me, it was priceless. I shook my head. "I don't want money. I just want my bracelet back." Sarah glared at me. "Give you an inch and you take a mile. Get lost." Ryan took her hand, calming her gently. "Sarah, don't be angry. I'll talk to him." He walked over to me and leaned in to whisper in my ear. "Don't think you can replace me just because I was gone for a while. Sucking up to Sarah, scheming to get Emily into your bed, none of it matters. The most important person in their lives will always be me. You want the bracelet? Fine. Get on your knees and beg me for it, and I might consider giving it back." My breath caught in my throat, but I said nothing. It was the only thing my grandmother had left me. The memory of her kind, gentle face made my heart ache as if it were being squeezed by an invisible hand. Slowly, under the watchful eyes of everyone in the room, I bent my knees and knelt before him. "Please, I beg, give it back to me." Sarah and Emily just sat on the sofa, watching coldly, making no move to intervene. "You really have no shame," Ryan sneered. "You think kneeling and playing the victim is going to work? Who are you trying to guilt-trip here?" A smile played on Ryan's lips, but his eyes glinted with a chilling malice. "All right then," he said. "You can have it." And with that, he opened his hand. Oops. My hand slipped. He had done it on purpose. I stared at the shattered pieces of the charm scattered across the floor. My chest heaved with rage, and my vision blurring, I threw a punch at his face. The next second, I was shoved violently away, falling right onto the sharp fragments. Emily rushed to Ryan's side, her face a mask of anxiety as she gently examined the swelling on his cheek. Sarah's face was a thundercloud. "Daniel, are you insane? How dare you hit him right in front of me?" Apologize to Ryan right now. Her words were like knives, slicing me open. When I remained silent, she continued her tirade. How much do you think that dead woman's cheap trinket was worth? It was an honor that Ryan even looked at it. Don't be so ungrateful. I was shaking with rage, and before I knew what I was doing, I slapped her across the face. Sarah, it wasn't some cheap trinket. I yelled. It was the most important thing I owned, and you had no right to give it away. He's the one who smashed it on purpose. I'm not apologizing. The fury in Sarah's eyes was practically boiling over. And to think I was actually starting to feel sorry for you. You really know how to push it. You care so much about this charm, do you? Hold him down, she ordered the others. Make him bow his head on these broken pieces. He's not leaving until he's done it 99 times. The words had barely left her mouth before several guys grabbed me and forced my head down. They slammed my forehead onto the sharp, broken pieces. A piercing, agonizing pain shot through my head. But it was nothing compared to the pain in my heart. Within moments, warm blood was trickling down my face and dripping onto the floor. My face was covered in blood, and I was nearly unconscious from the pain. Staring at the blood, Sarah felt a strange tightness in her chest. Have you learned your lesson? She asked. I didn't answer. She snorted. Keep going. Don't stop until he admits he was wrong. Emily suddenly spoke up. Sarah, if you keep this up, you're going to seriously hurt him. Sarah just waved a dismissive hand. What? Feeling sorry for him now? Don't forget who was taking those pictures. Just then, Ryan suddenly collapsed. The look of panic on Emily's face was one I had never seen before. She immediately had someone call an ambulance to take Ryan to the hospital. Then she rushed out after them without a second glance in my direction. She never looked at me once. Sarah turned to me, a flicker of irritation in her eyes. See, the person Emily cares about has never been you. Stop trying to get what doesn't belong to you. You're not worthy. Ryan is like a brother to me. If anything happens to him, I'll never forgive you. After they left, I went and got my wounds treated by myself. I had just stepped out of the clinic when I got a call from Professor Albright. Daniel, our departure date might be moved up. Back at the hospital, Sarah felt a sudden, inexplicable sense of anxiety. She pushed the confusing thoughts from her mind and walked into the hospital room. To her surprise, she saw Ryan holding up his phone with a grin. Sarah, Emily, I can't believe you two actually got rid of Daniel for me. The moment he said it, the expressions on both women's faces changed dramatically. What are you talking about? Who got rid of Daniel? Sarah demanded. There's no way he would leave. I don't believe you. Emily added. Neither Sarah nor Emily believed him, and they questioned him in unison. Ryan was taken aback by their reaction, momentarily stunned into silence. His silence only made Emily more frantic. All her previous composure was gone as she grabbed Ryan's arm. Answer me. What did you mean by that? Ryan cried out in pain, trying to pull his arm away. Emily, you're hurting me. Let go and I'll tell you. Realizing she had lost control, Emily quickly released her grip. I'm sorry, Ryan. I just got a little worked up, she said. Now, why did you say we got rid of Daniel? What's going on? Sarah hadn't said a word, but her intense stare was fixed on him, waiting for an explanation. Seeing how agitated they both were, Ryan felt a surge of bitter jealousy. Why did Daniel get so much of their attention? It had always been this way. If he hadn't constantly badmouthed Daniel to them, making them despise him, they probably would have forgotten all about him by now. He would never allow that to happen. They both belonged to him. Ryan suppressed his feelings and explained softly. Emily, I just heard it from some other people. They said the university posted an announcement that Daniel is going abroad for a research project with Professor Albright. And the rumor is that he only left because he was too ashamed to stay on campus after his private photos got leaked. So he begged the professor to take him. I mean, how else would he get an opportunity like that? You two must have pulled some strings to make the professor take on such a liability, right? As soon as he finished, a dead silence fell over the room. Emily seemed to deflate, standing frozen in place. She mumbled to herself, how is that possible? Weren't all those photos taken down? Why would he leave over that? She had taken the photos, yes, but she only did it because she promised Sarah she would help get revenge. She never intended to drive him away. Sarah's face, however, turned pale with fury. She strode forward and grabbed Emily by the collar. You told me you handled the photos. Did you leak them on purpose? Emily shook her head frantically. He was my boyfriend. Why would I do that on purpose? I was just doing what you asked, trying to scare him a little. The photos really did get out by accident after someone saw them on my phone. The moment I found out, I had everything deleted and told everyone to drop it. Just then, Ryan squeezed between them and gently tugged on Sarah's sleeve. Emily, Sarah, do you think maybe he's just mad at you because I broke his bracelet? He asked, his voice thick with fake tears. It's all my fault. I never should have worn it that day. Sarah let out a short, sharp laugh. You're right. He's lived here his whole life. He wouldn't just leave. He must be throwing a tantrum to get back at us. I'm going home, she announced, turning to leave. Seeing her walk out without another word, Emily had no choice but to follow. Ryan, the doctor said you'll be fine. Just take care of yourself. We're going to go find Daniel. In an instant, Ryan was left alone in the room. He furiously swept everything off the bedside table, venting the rage that was boiling inside him. Why, he seethed. I'm her childhood friend. Why do they care so much about that loser? I can't let him come back, ever. Meanwhile, Sarah was on her way home. Sarah floored the accelerator, racing home. The entire drive, she kept thinking that Daniel was probably just this angry because of what happened to his grandmother's bracelet. Worst case, she'd have an identical one made for him as an apology. She admitted she had gone too far this time, but Daniel never stayed mad at her for long. She was sure this time would be no different. Emily was just as anxious. She already felt guilty about the photos, and now she was kicking herself for not stepping him back at the club. She must have been out of her mind. Emily tried calling Daniel's phone the entire way, but no matter how many times she tried, it went straight to voicemail. When they burst into my room, they found it empty. All they saw were clothes strewn across the bed and a half-packed suitcase on the floor. They exchanged a look, and for some reason, both felt a sense of relief. His suitcase is still here, so he can't have gone far. We need to send people out to find him, Sarah said. I really thought he was gone for good, Emily replied. Just then, Emily's phone rang. Miss Carter, I have the information you wanted on the photo leak. I've sent it to your phone, but there's something else. Emily didn't wait to hear the rest. She hung up and immediately played the audio file her assistant had sent. But the voice on the recording was Ryan's, talking to one of his friends. Is everything I asked you to do taken care of? I'm coming back to the States soon, and I won't let anyone take my place with Sarah and Emily. I want his reputation completely destroyed. Don't worry, man. It's all done, the friend replied. I spread his pictures everywhere and leaked his phone number. It's not like they ever liked the guy anyway. Why else would Emily take photos like that of her own boyfriend? I heard they even hired some guys to rough him up. Ryan laughed. Good. Make sure it's clean. Don't let them find out. I know. They hired the guys in the first place. I just added a little fuel to the fire. Just don't forget what you promised me when this is all over. Sarah, who was already on edge, completely lost her composure after hearing the recording. She whirled on Emily, shouting, What the hell is this? You said it was an accident. You said you took care of the photos. Why did this happen? Emily was stunned, unable to process what she was hearing. A wave of pure panic washed over her. I never meant for the photos to get out. I was drunk. I don't remember anything. I have no idea how they got leaked the next day. You don't have to tell me twice. I'm going to get to the bottom of this, and I'm going to explain everything to Daniel myself. Emily's people worked fast. Soon, everyone who had been involved was rounded up and brought to an underground parking garage. Even Ryan, still in his hospital gown, was dragged there. Having never been treated this way in his life, he immediately started whining the moment he saw them. Sarah, Emily, he cried pitifully, these ropes are so tight, they're hurting me. Make them let me go. Before he could finish his sentence, Sarah kicked him hard in the stomach. Her eyes were bloodshot as she grabbed him by the throat. What did you do to Daniel? Start talking, or I swear I'll make you feel 100 times more pain than you're feeling right now. Ryan had never seen her look so terrifying. He immediately lost all his bravado and nodded frantically. I'll talk. Thrown to the concrete floor, he broke into a fit of coughing. Emily looked down at him coldly. I suggest you tell the truth. We'll find out what happened one way or another, so your little games are pointless. Sarah dug her nails into her palm, trying to quell the turmoil in her heart. She finally understood the panic she'd felt earlier. It was the feeling of something important slipping away. The boy who used to follow her around, calling her his big sister, was really gone. She had been the one who wanted Daniel gone more than anyone, but now, all she felt was a deep, gnawing regret. Ryan started sobbing his explanation. I just care about you two so much. I couldn't stand the thought of someone like Daniel taking my place in your hearts. So I paid someone to leak the photos. And when I heard you hired those guys, I paid them extra to assault him. At this, Emily slapped him hard across the face. You monster! How could you do that to him? She finally understood. No wonder she had always seen such disappointment in Daniel's eyes when he looked at her. He thought she and Sarah were responsible for everything. No wonder he looked so completely broken. He must have lost all hope in them long ago. Emily never would have imagined it. The sweet, kind Ryan from her memories was capable of something so malicious. And yet, when Daniel needed her most, she had abandoned him for Ryan, time and time again. He must have felt so hopeless. She saw the screenshots of the vicious online comments and the photos of Daniel resisting his attackers, the knife in his own chest. An endless tide of regret washed over her. As if on cue, her assistant showed her a security video from the club. It showed the moment she and Sarah had started their conversation, and it clearly showed Daniel standing right outside the door, hearing every word. He had known the whole time. Emily's hands started to shake uncontrollably. So he knew, even back then. Sarah slapped her own face hard. This is all my fault. If I hadn't come up with that horrible plan for you to trick him, none of this would have happened. He never would have left. Seeing her remorse, Emily looked just as devastated. I'd actually fallen for him a long time ago. I just never dared to admit it because I knew how much you hated him. She turned to her assistant. Where is he now? The flight wasn't supposed to be for another 5 days. Why can't anyone find him? Ryan, whose face was now swollen and bruised, suddenly started to laugh. He spoke before anyone else could. It's because he's completely given up on you too, of course. He left early. You didn't know? The professor changed their travel plans. He and Daniel already left yesterday. He's never coming back. You'll never see him again. The words, never coming back, echoed in the garage, sharp and painful. Both Sarah and Emily staggered backward, as if struck. We were so wrong, they whispered. He'll never forgive us. 3 years later, an award ceremony was being held in the main hall of the International Institute for Advanced Research. The project Professor Albright and I had been working on was a success, a breakthrough that had pushed the boundaries of AI technology. For 3 full years, I hadn't set foot outside the Institute's grounds. Everything in this new country was unfamiliar, but it gave me a sense of peace. After the ceremony, my colleagues insisted on taking me out to dinner to celebrate. I hadn't been out in so long, so I agreed. I never expected to see Sarah and Emily standing outside the restaurant. It looked like they had been waiting for a long time. The arrogance and confidence that once defined them were gone, replaced by a deep, weary sadness. I could see they had both lost a lot of weight. They didn't look well. It had been so long that I almost didn't recognize them. The moment they saw me, they walked straight toward me. But they just stood there, lips trembling, unable to speak. I broke the silence calmly. What are you doing here? Sarah's voice was full of bitterness. We were so wrong about what we did to you. We just wanted to come and apologize, and to see if you were doing okay. She hesitated. Your mother wants you to come back with us. She wants to see you. Won't you please come home with your sister? Sister? That was the first time I had ever heard her call herself that. But now, hearing it, I felt nothing at all. I didn't look at them as I gave my quiet refusal. I'll handle things with my mother myself. I won't be going back with you. Emily stepped forward anxiously, reaching for my hand, but I moved it away before she could touch it. My reaction was like a knife to her heart. I could see it in her eyes. Daniel, please, just let us explain, she pleaded. What happened started with me, and I'm so sorry for that. But everything that came after, that was all Ryan. He did all of it. I had him committed to a psychiatric hospital. Can we please start over? I swear I will never, ever do anything to hurt you again. She said it so easily. That's impossible, I replied. We were a mistake from the very beginning. Even though I never left the Institute, I knew they had come looking for me, again and again. I would see them standing at the main gate, rain or shine, and I would just pretend they weren't there. I didn't hate them anymore, but no matter what they did, I could never forgive them. I didn't want them disturbing my life any longer, so I decided to make things clear once and for all. If you hadn't gotten me drunk that night, we never would have slept together. I was the naive one, for actually believing you loved me. I never imagined you would take advantage of my inexperience, tricking me, making me humiliate myself for your pleasure. Also, you could take those pictures and leak them. Do you have any idea how disgusting it was, the way people looked at me? I wanted to die. As I finished, all the color drained from Emily's face. Sarah whirled around to face her, grabbing her by the collar. You told me he was willing. You got him drunk. Her hands were trembling. In her entire life, she had never felt a regret as profound as the one she felt in that moment. I only told her to take the pictures if you were a willing participant. Sarah stammered. I never thought she would get you drunk. Emily's eyes welled with tears. I know I was wrong, Daniel. Please, just give me a chance to make it up to you. But as I looked at them, I felt nothing. I once craved love so badly that I saw Sarah as a real sister and Emily as my salvation. But they were the ones who dragged me into the abyss. I was genuinely confused. Isn't my being gone exactly what you wanted? You could be with Ryan now, Emily, and you can treat him like your real brother, Sarah. At my words, they both shook their heads. No, ça explain. I was only nice to him to make you angry. In my heart, you're the only brother I have. You were the only one who ever truly cared about me. He's not worthy. I found that deeply ironic. After all, I was the one she used to call unworthy. Emily quickly added, I was just being foolish. I thought if I acted that way, Sarah would never find out that I liked you. I never meant to hurt you. I'm so sorry, but it was all too late. Not all wounds can be healed, and not all actions can be forgiven. I would not forgive the people who had hurt me so deeply. I enunciated every word clearly. If you truly feel any guilt for what you did, then the best thing you can do is to never disturb my life again. I don't want to see either of you ever again. With that, I turned and walked away without looking back. After that day, they never appeared in my life again. The last I heard of them was when I was notified that Sarah had transferred nearly all of her personal assets to my name, and Emily had deposited a large sum of money into an account for me. It seemed they were trying to atone with money. Sarah sent a message saying that even if my mother and Mr. Miller divorced, she would always be my sister if I wanted her to be. Emily said she would wait for me forever, that she would always be there if I ever changed my mind. It was a shame, but none of it meant anything to me anymore. I wired money to my mother every month, but I had no desire for any further contact. It seems she never touched the money in the account I set up for her. I found out later that after I left, she learned everything Sarah had done to me. In the end, she chose to divorce Mr. Miller. She was filled with regret for not realizing what was happening sooner, and she constantly told people how sorry she was. I was a terrible mother, she said in a message. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just want you to know that no matter what, you'll always have me. Hearing her words, so full of guilt, I found I had nothing to say in reply. I didn't blame her anymore, but I couldn't bring myself to love her again either. Later, a package arrived. Inside was a bracelet with a charm, an exact replica of the one my grandmother had given me. But no matter how perfect the copy, it wasn't the original. I never saw Sarah or Emily again. I heard through the grapevine that their lives weren't going well. But none of that had anything to do with me anymore. I had finally let go of the past. In the future, I would live my life for myself, and I would become a better man.